Imagine you're looking up at the sky on a clear night, and you see all those beautiful stars twinkling up there. Well, one of them is Betelgeuse, a celebrity among stars. If you want to catch a glimpse of it, look up at the Orion constellation. It low-key looks like an archer holding a bow, and you can spot Betelgeuse as the reddish-orange dot on their shoulder. It's one of the brightest stars in the sky, so it's hard to miss. Betelgeuse is not your ordinary star. First of all, it's gigantic, up to 1,000 times the size of our sun. Can you imagine that? It's so enormous that if we could somehow replace our sun with Betelgeuse, it would engulf all the inner planets, including Earth. And here's another fun fact. When we look at Betelgeuse, we're actually looking back in time. Yep, you heard it right. Betelgeuse is about 600 light years away from us, so the light we see today actually left the star 600 years ago. It has quite a history. This star has been shining brightly for millions of years. Long, long ago, even before smartphones and telescopes, ancient Sumerians were the first to spot Betelgeuse in the sky, and it's been a diva this entire time. For example, in 1866, Betelgeuse became one of the brightest stars in the night sky. It was so dazzling that people could see it even during the day. Astronomers all around the world went bananas documenting this extraordinary event. Since then, Betelgeuse has been playing hide-and-seek with us. It all started when Betelgeuse started to dim back in 2019. Since then, it likes to dim and brighten sporadically. But these changes in brightness tell us about something important. As we mentioned, Betelgeuse was always a bit of a troublemaker. It's been living a fast and furious life. Because of that, it has been burning its fuel at an incredibly fast rate. The changes in the star's brightness are clues that Betelgeuse is approaching the end of its life cycle. The drama intensified when the Hubble Space Telescope snapped jaw-dropping images of Betelgeuse, like it was getting ready to blow its top. All this made scientists think that the star is close to retiring in a dramatic way. It's about to go supernova. So picture a star partying hard, powered by the fusion of hydrogen atoms. It's like the star's own energy drink. But just like any party, the fuel starts to run out. That's when things get interesting. As the star guzzles up its hydrogen fuel, it slowly begins to run on empty. It can't sustain itself anymore. So now, it's time for the grand finale. This finale is called supernova. The star collapses in on itself like a deflating balloon. The pressure and temperature inside skyrocket to mind-boggling levels, and this celestial tantrum triggers a colossal bang. So you can see why observing Betelgeuse is like having a front-row seat to the spectacular drama. But here's the big question. When will this happen? Well, the answer is not as simple as setting a timer. You see, stars have their own schedules, and Betelgeuse is no different. It could be tomorrow, or it could be thousands of years from now. Scientists have come up with only a rough estimate. They believe that Betelgeuse will go supernova within the next 100,000 years. Quite a spread, huh? Sure, that sounds like forever to us, tiny humans. But in the vastness of the universe, it's just a blink of an eye. But there's a chance, just a tiny chance, that Betelgeuse could surprise us all and go supernova much sooner. Considering its dips in brightness, we might be in for a show within the next few hundred years. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, if Betelgeuse does go kaboom, what will happen? Well, get ready for a show like no other, folks. When a star collapses under its own weight, it unleashes a cosmic firework of epic proportions. The star releases a crazy amount of energy in the form of light and heat. Betelgeuse's supernova is going to be extra special. It's like the superstar of supernovas. It will shine so brightly that it might even outshine the other stars in the sky. Picture that, Betelgeuse stealing the spotlight. The show could be so bright that you won't need a telescope to catch a glimpse. Nope, you'll be able to see it with a naked eye. It might even be visible during the day, making the sky look like it's hosting the coolest rave ever. After that, the supernova will keep us entertained for weeks. It will be like having a second moon in the sky, shining as bright as the full thing. Imagine that, 2 moons dancing together in the night. After several weeks of lighting up the night sky, Betelgeuse's supernova will slowly fade away, but it would leave behind a souvenir, an ethereal remnant. It's like a fading memory of the star's epic performance. This remnant, too, would slowly fade away over the course of several months. But it's not just about the light show. The boom will send out powerful shockwaves, and we might actually feel them right here on Earth. It's like the universe giving us a gentle tap on the shoulder, saying, "Hey, look at this amazing spectacle. How dangerous will it be for us?" Well, we know that Betelgeuse's supernova would send dust and gas shooting into the atmosphere. It's like a big space sneeze. And this sneeze could cause a decrease in global temperatures. We're talking serious climate impact here. It could even lead to a mini ice age. But these are just assumptions. We don't know for sure if the consequences will really be that serious. But, of course, we want to be prepared for this event just in case. That's why scientists are studying Betelgeuse closely. But, in addition to serious scientific research, astronomers also have a blast of celestial comedy. Jokes are flying left and right. Someone has even created a Betelgeuse status account, which you can check yourself. So, as you can see, the star is keeping us on our toes. Astronomers keep observing it, and they need our help too. They want us to keep an eye on Betelgeuse and report any changes we see. How do you do that? First off, channel your inner astronomer and observe Betelgeuse. Take a peek at the star and note down what you see. Is it twinkling, shining, or feeling a bit dim? Jot it all down. Then be a superstar yourself and report your observations to the astronomers. Your observations will help them track Betelgeuse's journey towards its big supernova moment. You can also join in on some citizen science projects. They're super fun and easy, trust me. One cool project you can jump into is the Betelgeuse Brightness Monitor. By participating, you help scientists keep tabs on how bright Betelgeuse is shining. Your contribution can make a real difference. So join the monitoring team. You'll be part of something amazing, and who knows, your observations might even help predict when Betelgeuse will show off its supernova magic. By doing that, we can assist them in monitoring this superstar and learn more about the fascinating world of stars. But that's how we can help scientists to predict this event. Now, how can you personally prepare for it? First things first, you'll need the right gear to catch all the supernova action. A trusty telescope is like your front row ticket to the starry show. It'll bring you up close and personal with Betelgeuse's performance. And remember, you'll need special eyewear to shield your eyes from the intense burst of light. Safety first. And of course, prepare in case it decides to mess with our climate. Stock up on essentials, like warm clothes and supplies, just in case we experience a mini ice age. But let's just hope it won't happen. So keep your eyes on the night sky, my friends. Betelgeuse may not be ready to blow up just yet, but when it does, it will be a sight to behold. Until then, let's enjoy the twinkling stars. And remember, there's always something extraordinary happening in the vastness of space.
A huge asteroid, several hundred feet across, is dashing towards Earth through the black nothingness of the cosmos. Ooh. Brace for the terrible news. There's a 72% chance it might hit Earth in 14 years, with potential impact zones being North America, Southern Europe, and North Africa, some of the most densely populated areas on the planet. Astronomers have been keeping a close eye on the space invader for a few months, but now it's moved too close to the Sun, and tracking it is impossible for the next 7 months. Of course, there's a 28% chance that it will miss our planet altogether. But what if it doesn't? Global devastation and destruction, that's what. Thousands of lives lost, billions and billions of dollars in damage, entire species wiped off the face of the Earth, ruined cities and towns, destroyed fields and forests. We're left wondering whether it's the future awaiting for us. Well, now you can breathe easy. That's just a hypothetical scenario created by NASA to prepare for a situation like this. The space agency has been thinking about this kind of disaster for years. Even cooler, they run what-if asteroid exercises every 2 years to get scientists, state agencies, and international experts on the same page. The last one occurred in April. Over 100 people took part in that event. During such asteroid drills, experts pretend that a giant space rock is heading our way. Then they work through all the tricky questions they can come up with, like how big is it? Where might it hit? What should we do? It's like a massive brainstorming session to make sure that if it ever happens, we won't have to start from scratch. To make these scenarios feel as real as possible, NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies gets involved. These are folks who track real asteroids and calculate their orbits. So they simulate months of asteroid observations, complete with uncertainties about its size, trajectory, and potential impact zones. It's the kind of uncertainty that makes decision-making way harder, just like it would be in real life. Now, if an astronaut really was aiming at Earth, it wouldn't be just one country's problem. It would be everyone's. That's why this exercise brings in international experts. In April, it happened for the first time. They worked alongside U.S. agencies like NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office and FEMA to understand how the world might respond to such a crisis, since an asteroid impact would have dire consequences globally. Now, the big question is, can we actually stop an asteroid from hitting Earth? Here, there are two main options experts consider. First, we could send a spacecraft to gather more info. If we knew more about the asteroid's size, mass, and orbit, we'd be able to make better decisions about what to do next. The second option is to try to deflect it. Basically, it means bumping the asteroid off its course so that it misses Earth. This might sound impossible, but NASA's DART mission has already proven that we can do it. 2 years ago, they crashed a spacecraft into a small asteroid called Apophis and successfully changed its orbit. It was a huge victory for planetary defense. But missions like that take tons of time to plan, prepare, and carry out. That's why spotting dangerous asteroids as early as possible is so important. Currently, NASA is working on a new telescope called NEO-Surveyor, which is set to launch in 2027. Unlike good old telescopes, NEO-Surveyor is designed to detect even the trickiest asteroids, including ones orbiting close to the Sun. It'll give us a better chance to act early and potentially stop an asteroid before it becomes a threat. If you still think that an asteroid impact is something out of science fiction and the threat isn't real, how about this? Early on Sunday, January 21st, a small asteroid about 3 feet wide entered Earth's atmosphere and luckily burned up over Germany. NASA's Scout Impact System spotted it 95 minutes before it hit and predicted exactly when and where it would arrive. At 1:32 a.m. local time, the asteroid turned into a blazing bright fireball, visible as far away as the Czech Republic. Some small meteorites might have landed near the impact site, about 37 miles west of Berlin. This is just the 8th time ever that an asteroid has been detected before it hit Earth. It's a splendid example of how tools like Scout are helping us track asteroids and prepare for anything bigger that might come our way. Here's another example. A small asteroid turned the skies over northeastern Siberia into a breathtaking light show on December the 4th, burning up harmlessly in Earth's atmosphere. The space rock, about 28 inches across, was spotted just hours before it hit. Thanks to observations from astronomers around the world, a special alert system managed to predict the impact to plus or minus 10 seconds. The asteroid entered Earth's atmosphere at 1:15 a.m. local time. The authorities were put on alert, but there was no damage reports. NASA's Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, or ATLAS, spotted the rock 12 hours before it entered the atmosphere. This makes it the 4th imminent impactor, which is an asteroid discovered within hours of its expected impact, detected this year, and the 11th overall. Now, China also has big plans for planetary defense. They're working on their first mission to hit an asteroid, and it's got a double purpose. One spacecraft will crash into the asteroid, and the other will hang back to study the whole thing for up to a year. In other words, it's not just about protecting Earth. It's also a way to learn more about the solar system. The target is an asteroid called 2015 XF261, which is a mouthful, and also about 100 feet wide. It flew by Earth recently on July 9th, passing us at 31 million miles. True, it's pretty far away, but the space traveler was zooming by at a speed of 26,000 miles per hour, 30 times faster than the speed of sound. China is going to send a space probe to study the asteroid. They're hoping to learn more about its structure and composition, which could help us with future planetary defense missions. Then they plan to hit the asteroid with another spacecraft to test the impact, and the first space probe will stay there to observe the remains for up to a year. Timing is critical for this mission, and the asteroid offers some good opportunities in the next few years. Thus, in March and May of 2027, the asteroid will pass within 20 million miles of Earth. In April 2028, it'll get even closer. By that I mean 13 million miles away. A year later, in April 2029, the asteroid will end up just 4.2 million miles away, making it the best shot for a mission. Another decent chance will be April 2030. That's when the asteroid will pass our planet at 4.4 million miles. To give you some context, NASA's DART mission once targeted an asteroid 7 million miles away, and the trip took 10 months. So China's planners have to pick the right moment, depending on how long their spacecraft will need to get there. The mission is expected to start around 2027. At the same time, this won't be China's first attempt to target an asteroid. Back in 2023, they were planning a planetary defense test with a different asteroid, which is also about 100 feet wide. It's not clear why they switched to the current one, probably because the timing works better. Most asteroids are basically time capsules from 4.6 billion years ago, leftovers from when the solar system was just forming. Studying them could tell us a lot about how planets, including Earth, came to be. So, China's taking on something that combines planetary defense and pure space science. They're definitely making big moves in the space exploration game.
Imagine an asteroid so full of valuable metals that it could make every person on Earth a billionaire. Well, that's not science fiction. It's 1/6 Psyche, a massive metallic space rock orbiting the Sun between Mars and Jupiter. It isn't just extraordinary because of its value, estimated at $10 quintillion. That's a figure that dwarfs the global economy many times over. It also has clues about the formation of planets, especially the rocky worlds like Earth. In October 2023, NASA launched the Psyche spacecraft. This mission is to explore the cosmic treasure trove. It's supposed to arrive at the asteroid in August 2029, and astronomers hope that it will give us some insights, not just about the asteroid's glittering wealth, but also about how planets form and evolve in our solar system. But what exactly makes Psyche unique? First discovered in 1852 by an Italian astronomer, it was the 16th asteroid people identified, hence its name. It stands out among the millions of space rocks in the asteroid belt for one main reason: its metallic composition. While most asteroids are rocky or icy, Psyche seems to be made primarily of iron, nickel, and possibly even gold and other rare metals. At about 173 miles wide, it isn't the largest asteroid. It's easily dwarfed by others like Ceres. But its size is still impressive. After all, its surface area is 64,000 square miles, like that of the state of Florida. Astronomers think that between 30 and 60% of the asteroid's surface might consist of precious metals. They also think that this space rock might be the exposed core of a planetesimal. A planetesimal is basically a protoplanet, a large space body in orbit around a star, developing into a planet. And this planetesimal could have grown into a full-fledged planet if it hadn't been destroyed in some catastrophic collision billions of years ago. If this theory is correct, Psyche can give us a unique glimpse into what lies deep within terrestrial planets like Earth, where planetary cores are hidden thousands of miles beneath thick crusts and mantles. Now, remember that spacecraft that went to explore the asteroid? After embarking on its ambitious mission, the Psyche probe will travel a mind-boggling 2.2 billion miles to reach its goal. This journey will take nearly 6 years. On its way to the asteroid, the spacecraft will pass by Mars in May 2026 and use the red planet's gravity to slingshot itself deeper into space. This maneuver is called a gravity assist. and it will boost the velocity of the probe and refine its trajectory toward the asteroid. By the time it reaches its goal in August 2029, the spacecraft will be set to orbit the asteroid for at least 26 months. During this time, it will analyze its surface, figure out its composition, and attempt to unravel its history. The probe is equipped with some pretty cool tools. One of them is called a multispectral imager. This instrument will snap high-resolution images of the asteroid's surface. It's supposed to help astronomers to study its texture and composition. Then, the probe has a gamma-ray and neutron spectrometer. This instrument will measure the asteroid's chemical elements, including its metal content. A magnetometer will detect a magnetic field, if any, which could confirm Psyche's origin as a planetary core. And finally, an X-band radio system will help determine the asteroid's gravity field, which can offer insights into the asteroid's internal structure. NASA isn't sending the spacecraft to assess the value of the space rock as a mining target. Well, at least not yet. The main goal of the mission is science. Researchers hope to answer fundamental questions about how planets form and evolve. And this asteroid could help us understand what happens when molten material solidifies into a core. Another question we need to answer to is, why did it fail to become a planet? And understanding the history of the asteroid might shed light on why some celestial bodies grow into planets while others don't. While NASA's mission is purely exploratory, it has also sparked interest from the point of view of asteroid mining. With its estimated worth of $10 quintillion, Psyche could theoretically supply enough raw materials to revolutionize industries on Earth. Mining it is likely to be decades away, if it ever happens altogether, but the idea still sounds amazing. At the same time, if the asteroid's metals were somehow brought to Earth, their abundance could cause the value of precious metals like gold to plummet, and it would wreak havoc on global markets. Speaking of valuable resources, let's find out how Earth got its own gold, platinum, and other rare metals. These elements, aka highly siderophile elements, have a cosmic origin story, and it's every bit as dramatic as Psyche's. These precious metals were born in violent cosmic events billions of years ago. Many appeared in kilonovae, explosive collisions between neutron stars. These metals were then scattered across space and eventually became part of the gas and dust cloud that formed our solar system. When Earth formed, those metals sank towards its iron-rich core, but not all of them ended up deep inside the planet. Destructive collisions with rogue protoplanets like the Mars-sized Theia, which most likely helped to form the Moon, trapped some elements in Earth's mantle. Recent computer models have explained how this happened. After each major collision, Earth's surface temporarily became a magma ocean, a molten layer of rock. As metals sank through the magma, they reached a partially solid layer that slowed their descent, keeping them in the mantle instead of the core. These metals then moved closer to the surface under the influence of thermal convection. That's what made them accessible for mining billions of years later. While Psyche's metals are all over the news, space has more to offer than just gold and iron. Scientists have discovered, or rather theorized, the existence of different gemstones scattered across the cosmos, like diamonds. The thing is, diamonds are made of pure carbon, and this element is abundant in the universe. On Earth, diamonds form deep in the mantle under high pressure and temperature. In space, conditions for diamond formation can occur in surprising places. For example, nanodiamonds, which are really tiny diamonds, have been found in meteorites. Sometimes they contain gases that give us clues about the early solar system. Scientists believe that it might rain diamonds on our ice giants, Neptune and Uranus. There, high pressures compress carbon into crystalline form. Researchers have also predicted that exoplanets in other solar systems could have gemstones like rubies and sapphires, depending on their size and proximity to their stars. Even Earth's moon had its own share of cosmic minerals. Scientists have found some traces of cubic zirconia in lunar rocks. so space might hold even more treasures than we've imagined. But let's get back to the Psyche mission. It might not only reveal the whole potential of space resources, but also underline the issues we could face while dealing with them. For example, mining an asteroid would require the usage of autonomous robots, machines capable of operating in harsh space environments. Plus, we would need efficient transport systems to bring materials back to Earth or process them in orbit. We would need to make sure that mining activities wouldn't damage ecosystems or space environments. There are also legal and ethical issues, like the Outer Space Treaty of 1967. It prohibits any nation from claiming sovereignty over celestial bodies. But with private companies entering the space race, debates over ownership and resource sharing are heating up. And finally, bringing such amounts of metals to Earth could destabilize global markets. So, experts suggest that space resources might be better used in space, for building habitats, satellites, and spacecraft. But no matter whether we ever mine 16 Psyche or not, its exploration will teach us more about the early solar system and the processes that shaped our planet. As of December 1st, 2024, the probe is heading for the asteroid, following the orbit around the Sun. Its journey promises not only to deepen our knowledge of the universe, but also to redefine what's possible for humanity as we reach for the stars.
Asteroids are a serious, very real danger. Some of them are big enough to cause a lot of trouble if they collide with Earth. One asteroid in particular is making headlines these days. A new study has revealed there's a small chance it could hit our planet during its close flyby in 2029. But the question is unusual. Will the asteroid survive this encounter? Apophis, which got its name from Apep, the Egyptian deity of chaos and disorder, has become one of the most infamous asteroids. Discovered in 2004, this space object is about 1,100 feet wide. It's about the height of the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Because of its size and the close flyby predicted for 2029, astronomers classify Apophis as a potentially hazardous object. Those are asteroids and other space objects that pass close to Earth and are big enough that we really need to pay attention to them. Right now, scientists say the chances of a collision are slim, less than 1 in a billion. So, at the moment, we can probably claim that Earth is out of danger. But the same can't be said about the asteroid itself. When Apophis passes close to Earth in 2029, our planet's gravity is likely to shake it so violently that it may experience something like an earthquake, a cosmic asteroid quake, if you will. The stress from this gravitational force will probably cause parts of the asteroid's surface to crack off and fly into space. And even though this might not be a full-blown disaster and the asteroid won't fall apart completely, it's very likely to lose some material during the flyby. Some of this debris might just stick around in orbit, while other bits could fly off into deep space. Over time, this catastrophe could affect Apophis's rotation, causing it to spin differently or tilt in a way it hasn't before. And this is a phenomenon scientists are really interested in, because it could teach us a lot about how asteroids react when powerful gravity is pulling on them. Now, let's get back to Earth. Well, we haven't left. Anyway, even though the asteroid isn't big enough to wipe out the planet like the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs, it's large enough to cause serious damage to a large city if it ever collided with Earth. It could mess with the climate all over the planet, too. At the moment, it looks like the space rock will sail past Earth at a distance of around 20,000 miles. It's still worryingly close, but far enough to avoid a collision. To put it in perspective, that's less than 1/10 of the distance between Earth and the Moon. So while Apophis likely won't hit us, this flyby could still cause problems for some of the satellites orbiting Earth. They will be much closer to Apophis than we are. The key point is that we can't rule out a risk of a collision in a few more years. As Apophis gets closer, astronomers will keep a very close eye on its trajectory to make sure it doesn't veer off course due to the influence of Earth's gravity. In fact, this gravitational pull could actually cause some serious changes to the asteroid itself. Now, even though Apophis is not likely to cause a global disaster if it were to hit Earth, The consequences would still be pretty severe. The impact could destroy an entire city, and the resulting climate changes could mess with food production for years. It wouldn't be an extinction-level event, but it would still be a huge deal. Now, Apophis is not the only asteroid we need to worry about. Scientists are constantly on the lookout for other asteroids that could potentially cause harm to our planet. Thanks to new technology, astronomers can now track dangerous space rocks from way farther out in space. One cool new method they're using involves studying meteor showers. These showers are actually caused by long-period comets that have been orbiting the Sun for hundreds or even thousands of years. As these comets pass by, they leave a trail of dust and debris, which can end up creating meteor showers when Earth passes through them. Scientists analyze the properties of meteor showers, like their speed, direction, and where they come from. This can help them trace the particles back to their parent comet or asteroid. It's actually a big deal, because it means we might be able to spot potentially hazardous asteroids long before they get close to Earth. The upcoming Legacy Survey of Space and Time project, which is being run out of the Vera Rubin Observatory in Chile, is going to help astronomers track these space rocks from even farther away. Astronomers are going to create a detailed map of the sky and the regions where meteor showers are most likely to occur. It'll help them predict which asteroids might become a problem for Earth in the future, giving us plenty of time to prepare or come up with a plan. But even now, there are many space rocks that can potentially cause a lot of trouble to our planet. Let's look at some of them. Here's the asteroid Bennu. Astronomers discovered it in 1999. This carbon-rich rock is about 1,600 feet across. It's the height of the Shanghai World Financial Center. Didn't you know that? At the moment, this asteroid is the greatest threat to Earth that we're aware of. But don't panic yet. The collision won't happen for a long time. In fact, scientists calculate a 0.037% chance, which is about 1 in 2,700, of Bennu striking Earth on September 24, 2182. I won't be around then. If Bennu does hit our planet, the impact would release so much energy that it would be enough to cause massive destruction in a large region. But luckily, it wouldn't wipe out the entire planet. Still, if Bennu hit a city, the consequences could be catastrophic. NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft has recently visited Bennu and returned with samples, so scientists are learning more about this asteroid all the time. The next asteroid is another one to keep an eye on. It was first discovered in 1950, but wasn't seen again until 2000. Right now, scientists say there's a very slim chance, 1 in 34,500, that it could hit Earth on March 16, 2880, 800 years into the future. So, am I worried? Nah. If it did strike, it would release so much energy it could lead to a global catastrophe, potentially wiping out humanity. Or not. Our next asteroid has been discovered only recently. It was spotted in October 2023. It has a very low chance of striking Earth on October 10, 2119. Man, they got it down to the day? Now, if it were to collide with our planet, the impact would release a lot of energy, which would have a devastating effect for large areas. So, while the arrival of this asteroid is a long shot, this asteroid is still worth keeping an eye on. Now, this asteroid is known as a lost asteroid because it hasn't been seen since 2007. No wonder, it has a very uncertain orbit, and we can't predict its movements. NASA says there's a tiny chance, about 1 in 10 million, that it could strike Earth on March 3, 2030. If it did, the energy released would be able to cause huge regional damage. Finally, we've got this space wanderer. On the one hand, it hasn't been seen since 1979. On the other, scientists believe that there's a very low chance that it could hit Earth on December 14, 2113. Mark your calendars. If it did, the impact would cause a lot of damage and devastation, but it would not lead to the end of humanity. Now, in any case, even though the chances of an asteroid hitting Earth are low, the consequences of such an event could be huge. That's why scientists are so focused on studying these space rocks and tracking their movements. Thanks to new technologies, we can track dangerous objects from farther away and catch them earlier. It can give us more time to react and come up with some effective solutions. Hundreds of millions of rocks orbit the Sun within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, but only some of them come relatively close to Earth. NASA classifies asteroids orbiting within 30 million miles of our planet as near-Earth objects, and inside this group, there are particularly worrisome objects. Those are so large and orbit so closely to our home planet that they could turn into a real threat to the world should a direct collision occur. At the moment, NASA is keeping a close eye on an asteroid named Bennu. It's a fairly large space object that might smash into our planet in 159 years. According to the experts, the asteroid, which was first spotted in 1999, is quite likely to drift into the orbit of our planet. If it happens, it might collide with Earth by the 24th of September, 2182. Asteroid Bennu is thought to be taller than the Empire State Building. If that hits our planet, the collision will release 1,200 megatons of energy. That's an enormous amount of energy that nothing built on Earth could produce. Scientists from NASA believe that during the flyby in the 22nd century, there's a tiny chance that the asteroid will pass through a gravitational keyhole. That's a region of space that might set the space traveler on a certain path, which could result in the asteroid crashing into Earth. Bennu flies by our planet every 6 years. It has had 3 close encounters with Earth in 1999, 2005, and 2011. These days, scientists estimate the chance of the asteroid hitting our planet by 2182 as 1 in 2,700. That's more than 5 times a person's chance of being struck by lightning. But even though Bennu's chance of colliding with Earth are quite low at the moment, the space rock has still been categorized as a, quote, potentially hazardous asteroid, all because it might come as close as 4.65 million miles from Earth. That's the reason why it's also classified as a near-Earth object. Bennu is a carbon-rich asteroid that was formed in the first 10 million years of the history of the solar system. That's around 4.5 billion years ago. No wonder this space body holds precious clues to the origin and development of the rocky planets of our solar system, which are, as you recall, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. Even better, it may contain organic molecules, similar to those that are crucial for life to evolve. In 2020, NASA's OSIRIS-REx managed to briefly touch the surface of the asteroid. It collected some samples and propelled off the space rock afterward. For NASA, it was the first mission of this kind. But it won't probably come as a surprise that Bennu isn't the only asteroid we should worry about. Asteroid 99942, Apophis, is another space body we'd better watch out for. It's a near-Earth object about 1,100 feet across. It was discovered in 2004, and at first, it was identified as one of the most dangerous asteroids ever detected. Apophis gained notoriety very fast. It was believed to pose a serious threat to Earth. Experts predicted that it would come uncomfortably close to our planet in 2029. Luckily, after a more careful examination of Apophis and its orbit, astronomers concluded that there was no risk of the asteroid colliding with our planet for at least a century. The risk of an impact in 2029 was ruled out completely, as well as the potential impact that could be caused by the asteroid's close approach in 2036. Interestingly, until March 2021, there was a small chance of a collision in 2068. But then, Apophis made a flyby of Earth, and astronomers took this chance to use powerful radars to estimate the asteroid's orbit around the Sun more precisely. This allowed them to rule out any impact risk for at least the next 100 years. Now, the reason why such discoveries make us so worried is that even a relatively small asteroid, the size of a house, can wreak havoc upon colliding with our planet. And if an asteroid is larger than 0.6 miles across, astronomers call it a planet destroyer. The impact energy released by such an asteroid after striking Earth could be devastating. That's why knowing where such asteroids are and in what direction they're moving is crucial. The problem is that our capability to protect the planet from asteroid impacts is not top-notch yet. If such a catastrophe was about to occur, we would need some time to prepare, because an asteroid collision is no joke. Probably the most well-known asteroid impact site is the Chicxulub crater. It's the evidence of the terrifying collision that led to the extinction of dinosaurs. Strangely, this crater isn't very visible, but some others are. For example, Barringer Crater in Arizona, which is also called Meteor Crater. It looks rather blood-chilling when you think about the collision that led to its appearance. In any case, we now know that space rocks hit not only the Earth but also the Moon, Mercury, and Mars. No rocky planet in the solar system is safe from asteroid impacts. That's why we have an entire scientific enterprise whose goal is to find and catalog the asteroid population of the solar system. Now, it might sound a bit scary, but there are around 25,000 asteroids larger than 460 feet in diameter near the orbit of our planet. Such a space rock is large enough to wipe an entire city off the face of the Earth. So far, less than 50% of such asteroids have been detected and tracked. There are also an estimated 230,000 objects equal to or larger than 160 feet in size. Those are capable of destroying a concentrated urban area, and still fewer than 8% of those have been detected. There are also tens of millions of smaller near-Earth objects. They are larger than 33 feet across and might cause some surface damage. Less than 1% of such small space bodies have been discovered so far. Now, the thing is, the inner solar system is extremely challenging for asteroid search. Each night, there are only 2 10-minute windows when astronomers can observe the region, all because the sun's glare creates a very bright background glow. Plus, the atmosphere of our planet also distorts and blurs observations. Spotting asteroids in such conditions is beyond the capabilities of most telescopes. A unique instrument is needed to fulfill this task, and the tool of choice is the Dark Energy Camera at Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory in Chile. This device wasn't designed to hunt asteroids. Researchers built it to search for another elusive target, dark energy, the mysterious force driving the expansion of the universe. The DEC is supposed to observe hundreds of millions of galaxies. That's why it's both wide and deep. This way, it can both peer deep into the universe and capture a wide field of view, which helps it record the motions of galaxies and the conditions in the early age of the universe. But it also means that the DEC is perfectly suited to spotting asteroids near the Sun. Inner asteroids are rare, and deep images are necessary because such asteroids are faint. Scientists need to be able to fight both the bright twilight sky near our star and the distorting effect of Earth's atmosphere, and the DEC can help them achieve their goal. The Dark Energy Camera was built to carry out the Dark Energy Survey, which finished in 2019. Now astronomers can direct the power of the camera towards other tasks. They claim that the DEC's survey is one of the most sensitive searches ever performed for objects near Venus's orbit and within the orbit of our planet. It provides us a great chance to find out what kinds of objects are lurking in the inner solar system.
Asteroids flying around is sometimes like a fierce game of dodgeball, where you never know when some of them can go in your direction. So we can just track the situation and hope for the best. To figure out the risk, scientists from different organizations have to study the positions and paths of the asteroids that come close to our planet, especially those that are at least 0.6 miles wide. And the good news is that none of these asteroids will probably hit us for at least the next 1,000 years. Phew! To give us an idea of their power, scientists did an experiment to simulate the impact of such a gigantic asteroid. The energy released from the collision would be a mind-blowing 100,000 megatons. That's like detonating 15,000 tons of dynamite. Also, if such a big asteroid hit us, Earth would cool down significantly because of all that debris that would go into the atmosphere and block sunlight. Plants wouldn't be able to get their fuel in this case, so we'd all be in trouble, both humans and animals. Thankfully, such mammoth asteroid impacts are quite rare. The larger an asteroid, the longer it takes it to collide with Earth. For example, it's estimated that asteroids with diameters of at least 0.6 miles strike our planet about once every 700,000 years. And if we're talking about even bigger ones that are 3 miles wide, well, those are predicted to come crashing down only once every 30 million years. Yay! But hold on. Don't get too relaxed just yet. Astronomers focus on really large asteroids because those are the ones that can kinda doom our planet if they hit us. Yep, you got it right, in a dinosaur kind of way. Even if one of them didn't erase us completely, the damage would still be enormous. So, there are still some asteroids wandering around that we need to keep an eye on to see how they might evolve over time. Scientists have a model of tracking them where they focus on the parts of an asteroid's path that come close to our planet to see if the space rock poses a risk to us. And it seems there might be one asteroid, 7482, 1994 PC1, 3,600 feet in diameter that might pose some danger. It's supposed to come closer to our planet in the next 1,000 years. And when I say risky, it means there's a 0.0151% chance of it coming within one Earth-Moon distance. It already passed by us in 2022, but we were lucky because it was far enough 1.2 million miles. I'd say we can relax when it comes to asteroid scenarios. For now. Asteroids slamming into Earth would be new for humankind, but not for the planet itself. As I said, there weren't many of those big ones, but they still had enormous consequences. The first one that comes to most people's minds is, of course, the dinosaur asteroid as big as a mountain that struck our home planet around 66 million years ago, near Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. It was chaotic. Global firestorms and tsunamis were all over the place. Dust was blocking out the sun, and vaporized rock released sulfur, which then led to acid rain and the acidification of the oceans. But there was an even bigger fella that came before that one. Around 2 billion years ago, a gigantic asteroid crashed into our planet and left a massive crater in South Africa. The one we know today as the Redefort crater. And it seems this asteroid might have been even bigger than we all originally thought. Twice as wide as the space rock that erased dinosaurs. The Redefort crater is confirmed to be the biggest visible crater on Earth, with a diameter of about 99 miles. It used to be even bigger when it first formed, though. Maybe even 155 to 174 miles across. It's hard to figure out its true size because the crater has been eroding for the past 2 billion years. Think of it like slicing off layers from the rim of a bowl. The diameter gets smaller with each slice. When the asteroid, 7 to 5 miles wide, that wiped away dinosaurs hit Earth about 66 million years ago, it caused massive destruction. Forest fires, acid rain, tsunamis, and so much ash and dust that it changed Earth's climate. This all made about 75% of life on our planet extinct. The asteroid that created the Redefort crater was not only bigger, but it also traveled at a higher speed, which means the consequences there would have been even worse. But it happened a long time ago, and living beings were different back then. Maybe it was some bacteria that didn't even notice that something unusual was happening. Earth is not the only one. Lots of impacts have happened across our solar system too. For example, in our close neighborhood. Yup, moving to Mercury and its massive crater called the Caloris Basin. It measures about 950 miles across, which is more than the state of Texas. There's a ring of towering mountains around the crater which makes it look even more impressive. You can see different colors in the mosaic image of the Caloris Basin. They tell us more about the geology of the basin. The orange parts represent lava that once flooded the basin. These lava flows covered the original surface and added this specific orange hue. And after the lava flooded the basin on Mercury, smaller craters formed on top of the lava surface. These craters dug into the ground and uncovered the material hidden beneath the lava. Some of this material is blue in color. And this blue stuff could be a clue about what the original floor of the basin had looked like before the lava covered it. Venus, the hottest planet in our solar system, has a thick atmosphere that comes with a pretty good defense system against space rocks. It's so dense that it burns up most meteors before they even reach its surface. As a result, you won't see as many visible craters on Venus as on other rocky planets in our solar system. But Venus still has some scars that can tell us about some serious impacts that happened there. And one of the biggest scars we know about is Meade Crater. It's enormous, about 170 miles in diameter. The inner floor of this crater is relatively flat and kind of brighter than its surroundings. It's possible that the crater ended up filled with a mixture of melted rock after the impact, and maybe even lava from volcanic activity on Venus. Want to get an idea of what Earth might look like without its protective layer called atmosphere? Just take a look at the moon. Its surface is littered with impact craters. This Tycho is one of the craters you'll easily notice on the moon. When you look at the full moon, you can spot it as a distinct circle with bright rays that radiate outward, slightly off-center on the lower left side of the moon. This crater, 53 miles wide, has a beautiful central peak in the middle that's topped with an intriguing boulder. The size of this boulder is impressive. It would fill about half of a typical city block here on Earth. When talking about craters, we definitely can't leave out Mars. The red planet has a much thinner atmosphere than Earth. When spacecraft approach Mars, they rely on the planet's atmosphere to slow them down as they enter it. And indeed, the atmosphere helps slow spacecraft down during landing, but it's still not thick enough to completely protect Mars from all those space rocks that are coming all the time. From July to September 2018, a dark spot appeared on the southern pole of Mars. It consists of two distinct patterns. A theory says that the bigger, lighter-colored blast pattern can be the result of an impact shock wave scouring the ice surface. The impact generated winds that spread out and scoured the ice. The inner blast pattern, which is darker in color, occurred because the impacting object managed to penetrate the thin ice layer. As it hit the surface, it sent dark sand and debris flying in all directions.
NASA sent a spacecraft right into the sun. It's the fastest human-made object ever, and could cover the distance from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. in just 1 second. The Parker Solar Probe's mission is to study our star's dangerous behavior. Scientists warn that massive solar storms are inevitable, and the consequences could be catastrophic for our planet. The spacecraft got 7 times closer to the sun than any other probe ever did. It managed to do so during its 20-second flyby to the star since its launch in 2018. Because our star is so massive, its gravity is really strong, like a giant magnet. As the probe flies around the sun, it uses gravity to go faster and faster and eventually picks up that crazy speed. As it got closer and closer to the sun's corona, which is its outer atmosphere, the probe had to survive temperatures of 2,552 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot enough to melt many metals. It was protected from that heat and radiation by a 4.5-inch thick carbon shield. It kept the tools inside the probe safe and running at around room temperature. The scientists went to all this effort because they're hoping to solve a big mystery about the sun that's been puzzling them for ages. The surface of our main star is already super hot, but as you move closer out to the corona, the temperature shoots up to millions of degrees. And it doesn't make any sense because it's farther away from the sun. So maybe we could finally get some answers about this heat phenomenon. The mission is also going to help us understand something called solar wind. The sun is constantly shooting out tiny bits of energy and charged particles into space, like a never-ending breeze of electricity. When this solar wind hits Earth, it can create amazing light shows in the sky called auroras. The more active the sun is, the farther south you can see auroras. Our star follows natural cycles that last about 11 years. The activity goes from low to high and back down to low. Right now, we're in the solar maximum, the peak of the activity cycle. That's why we've spotted beautiful auroras in the most unexpected places in 2024. The downside to it is that the sun's activity can send out bursts of energy and charged particles that can mess up things like radios, satellites, and even GPS. It can be dangerous, especially for astronauts out in space who aren't as protected as we are here on Earth. Humans wouldn't feel the compression of the planet's electromagnetic field because of all the extra radiation, but power grids are really sensitive to it. If we don't act fast when it happens, the influx of energy will go into power transformers all over the world, disrupt them, and leave big areas without electricity. If this happens during a hurricane or a tornado, when communication is already super important, it could make it much harder for emergency services to communicate and save lives. That's why it's so important to learn to predict this space weather. It's tricky because, unlike most disasters, like earthquakes, floods, and volcanoes, it doesn't leave behind any kind of physical evidence. The only big solar storms we really know about happened in 1859 and 1921. The first one, called the Carrington event, was so wild that it made sparks fly from telegraph wires. The auroras were seen all the way near the equator. Scientists back then were using a special kind of paper that reacted to light to record solar activity. During the Carrington event, the reading from the sun went off the page, literally. Whatever was happening, it was so extreme that we still don't fully understand it. Then, there was the New York Railroad Storm of 1921. It was powerful enough to knock out telegraph systems across the US, Europe, and the Southern Hemisphere. The storm boosted radio transmissions for a bit, making them travel farther than usual. But back then, there weren't nearly as many radios, so it wasn't super helpful. The bigger problem was the electrical grid in the US, which was heavily damaged. Back in 1859 and 1921, people weren't as dependent on tech as we are now. If a storm like that hits today, the consequences could be way more catastrophic. Scientists from New Zealand who study space weather are working on simulations trying to prevent disasters from happening. They say one of the possible options to do it is to study other suns like ours elsewhere in space. If we get data from thousands of stars, not just one, the picture for analysis would be more complete. So far, scientists have launched or plan to launch several other missions in addition to the Parker Solar Probe. Meanwhile, NASA is working on another mission, launching Endurance, robotic moon machinery on steroids. Its main mission will be to collect samples from key lunar locations that will later be retrieved by astronauts from the Artemis program. These samples are spread across the largest impact basin on the moon, separated by hundreds of miles. To do it, Endurance will have to be way more advanced than Perseverance, NASA's current most cutting-edge rover. Endurance will drive roughly 100 times further, drive 10 times faster, and collect roughly 200 times more sample mass. Endurance would also be the first planetary rover to drive at night. And because it will be on the far side of the moon with limited communication to Earth and surface data, it will have to drive autonomously between sample locks and make its own decisions in tough conditions. When it reaches its destination, it's going to switch to a more classic way of doing things. Scientists back on Earth will get involved directly, guiding the rover to explore the sites and collect samples. The teams on Earth will also keep an eye on how the rover is doing by monitoring its telemetry, which is the data it sends back, like its health stats. If they spot any signs that a part is wearing out or something isn't working quite right, they'll tweak the plan to keep things running smoothly. All this will cost huge amounts of money, probably way more than the Viper moon mission that was cancelled after NASA had spent around $450 million on it. While Endurance is in the planning stage, the Blue Ghost lunar lander is already on its way to the moon. Its main mission is research. It will spend 25 days in Earth's orbit, taking measurements and waiting for the right time to fling itself to the moon. After 4 days in transit, Blue Ghost will hang out in lunar orbit for another 16 days to collect more data. Then, it will descend to one of the largest basins on the moon and spend one lunar day there. It will measure subsurface thermal data, radiation levels, and other important data. At the end of its mission, Blue Ghost will take some final pictures of the lunar sunset. It isn't designed to return back to our planet, so when the night falls, it will do some final work and go offline for good. NASA chose the team of University of Florida aerospace engineers to work on another innovative space project. It will cost $12 million, and its goal will be to improve the way we track changes in tectonic plates and oceans on Earth from space. It will use state-of-the-art sensors that will measure even the tiniest gravitational changes. The data it gets will help scientists monitor droughts, assess groundwater reserves, and better understand changes in sea levels. They expect to launch it around 2027 aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket.
Now imagine something so powerful that it could rip the atoms of your body apart in a fraction of a second. Ow! This something is soundlessly dashing through space, not extinct, not alive, stuck in between. If this terrifying monster were moving towards Earth, we'd be doomed. So, is it? Astronomers have found a fast and powerful space object zooming through our home Milky Way galaxy at over 110,000 miles per hour. That's faster than any rocket we've ever made. This bizarre space object got its name of a zombie star, all because it's the leftover part of a star that passed away a long time ago, but is still moving. This zombie star is a kind of an object called a magnetar, a super small, super heavy ball about the size of a city but heavier than the Sun. That makes it one of the densest objects in space. Only black holes are denser. Hey, let's not forget about me, huh? Magnetars also have an incredibly strong magnetic field. The one our zombie guy has is 100 trillion times stronger than Earth's. That's so strong that if the magnetar came close to Earth, it could wipe out every credit card on the planet just from its magnetism, and we couldn't shop anymore. Plus, if a person got too close to a magnetar, like 600 miles or so, it could pull their very atoms apart, and they couldn't shop anymore. Luckily, this magnetar is very far away and not coming near us. When it was first discovered, it was about 15,000 light-years away from Earth. That's a huge distance, so you don't get to worry about your atoms being disconnected yet. Astronomers first spotted the zombie magnetar in 2008. And since only about 30 magnetars are known in our galaxy, it was a lucky and rare find. Scientists use space telescopes like Hubble and Gaia to watch it over time. That's how they discovered it was moving much faster than they thought. Now, astronomers are trying to figure out how this zombie star got such a big kick. At first, they thought that, like most magnetars, this one was born when a giant star exploded in a supernova and the leftover core became a super-dense neutron star. According to their theory, it could have happened near something called supernova remnant HB9. That would make sense since most magnetars are created this way. But when they tracked its movement, they found that the zombie star was moving too fast and going in the wrong direction to have come from HB9. They traced its path thousands of years into the past and still couldn't find any exploding star or star cluster it could have come from. This means scientists now have one more mystery on their hands. Where did the zombie star come from, and how was it made? One explanation is that it came from a white dwarf, which is the leftover core of a smaller star like our Sun after it runs out of fuel. Now normally, when white dwarfs explode, they're destroyed completely. But in rare situations, instead of blowing apart, a white dwarf might collapse into itself and turn into a neutron star. This neutron star could then become a magnetar. This unusual way of forming a magnetar also gives clues about another mystery: fast radio bursts, or FRBs. These are very quick and powerful flashes of radio energy from deep space. Some FRBs come from galaxies that are so old there shouldn't be any exploding stars left. But if magnetars can be born from collapsing white dwarfs, that might explain how those FRBs are still happening. In any case, learning how magnetars form could help us explain many strange and powerful events we see across the universe. But so far, the investigation is still on, and no answers have been found yet. Zombie stars wandering across the universe isn't the only mystery we haven't solved yet. At one point, you might come across one of them while traveling through the cosmos. It looks like nothing. At a distance of 700 million light-years away from Earth, there's a hole, a blank void that has very few galaxies. This is a roughly spherical region about 330 million light-years across. Our home Milky Way galaxy could fit there thousands of times over. It's the mysterious Bode's void in the constellation of Bodes. Yeah, makes sense. You see, galaxies look like a giant web. Most of them are parts of long structures called filaments. Those wind through the cosmos, and when they meet, they form regions with a high concentration of galaxies. These regions are what we know as galaxy clusters. But between these clusters and threads, there are huge, empty voids that hardly contain any galaxies. Such voids make up almost 80% of the observable universe, and most of them are huge, from 30 to 300 million light-years wide. The Bode's void is one of the most massive ones. It has even earned the title of supervoid. Astronomers think it might be the result of a few smaller voids merging. But what could have caused such giant empty areas to appear in the first place? The reason might lie in the origin of the universe. In its early days, I wasn't around then, all the matter in the universe was packed together quite tightly. Astronomers even thought it was something like a uniform soup. But soon, random quantum fluctuations started disturbing this matter. Some areas became denser, and their gravitational pull became stronger. They began stealing matter from less dense regions. This made such areas even denser, and they kept attracting more and more matter. At the same time, smaller clumps of matter started drifting further away from the center, forming galaxies. If you visited a star cluster called Palomar 5, you'd forget all about voids and supervoids and even zombie stars. Instead, you'd need to concentrate on surviving, since the region is hiding a swarm of over 100 black holes right in the middle. And those black holes aren't just sitting there, they're at work, shaping the cluster nonstop. Palomar 5 is a group of stars located about 80,000 light-years away from us. Normally, clusters like this are dense and tightly packed, with stars all bunched up together. But Palomar 5 is different. It's spread out and has a huge tail of stars, stretching across 30,000 light-years. This beautiful tail is called a tidal stream. It's like the stars are spilling out of the cluster, creating a long river of light. Tidal streams like this are rare and hard to study. Globular clusters like this one are super old. Some are almost as old as the universe itself. But Palomar 5 also stands out because it's the only cluster we know about that still has a tidal stream attached to it. And the black holes inside the cluster might be to blame. They're pulling on the stars in the cluster, messing with their orbits, and slingshotting them right out of the cluster. Or would that be sling shooting? I don't know. Anyway, these stars are what make up the tidal stream. Over time, more and more stars get flung out. Palomar 5 has way more black holes than expected. About 20% of the cluster's mass is made up of black holes, over 100 of them, each about 20 times the mass of our Sun. Of course, Palomar 5 isn't going to last forever. In about 1 billion years, the cluster will completely fall apart. By then, all the stars will have been gone, leaving behind just the black holes. And these black holes will orbit the Milky Way, like a ghostly remnant of a cluster that used to be there. Even though this cluster is creepy enough, there's something even more eerie you can see in space: thick clouds of gas and dust called nebulae. One of the most unusual ones is probably NGC 2392, located 5,000 light-years away from Earth in the constellation of Gemini. It was discovered more than 200 years ago and became popular because of its unusual appearance. It's basically a disk of material with a ring of comet-shaped objects. The tails of these objects stream away from the star at the center of the nebula. The bizarre orange streaks in the outer part of the cloud stretch light-years away in all directions. The middle resembles a ball of twine, but in reality, it's a bubble of material blown into space by the wind of high-speed material produced by the central star. Wow!